Good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us this afternoon for this very insightful session on domestic tourism. Will it revive the destiny of tourism in India? Uh, so, all of us are going through tough times. All of us are sailing through uncertain times, and to understand and to comprehend to what future beholds for all of us, we'll be conducting this session with some of the most accomplished members of our travel fraternity. Allow me to introduce you to our panelists. So we have Mr. Rajeev Kohli with us, who is the JMD of Creative Travels, and he's also the president of Euromic. Then we have Mr. Ankush Nijhawan with us, who is the co-founder of TBO, and he's also the MD of Nijhawan Group. Then we have Mr. Dhananjay Saliankar with us, who is the head sales and marketing for WelcomHeritage and Fortune Hotels. Then we have Mr. P.P. Khanna, who is the president of ADTOI. Then we have Mr. Tejbir Singh Anand with us, who is the MD of Holiday Moods Adventures, and he's also the vice president of ATOAI. And then we have Mr. Gaurav Chiripal, who's the CEO of QuadLabs Technologies, and he'll also be moderating this session with us. Thank you, panelists, for joining us today and for taking us through this very insightful journey with you. So all the attendees, I would request all of you to send all your questions on the Q&A box and not on the chat window. And also in between the sessions, we'll be conducting few polls for your voting and to, understand your perspective also. So thank you all of you. Over to you now, Gaurav.
Thank you, Rachita. Thanks for introduction of the panelist. It's a great, panel here today with people coming from the industry, all the veterans from different part of the industry, and I hope today's discussion will provide a lot of insight to our audience, the trade about, what's next. So first of all, I hope everybody is safe and at home with the family. 1 month into lockdown, I think by now we are all getting used to it and getting to know the realities of being at home. I think there are positive signs in that. I can always see a beautiful sky, fresh air, being with my kids all the time, and I think there are always positives which we have to take from the situation. Today, we know that this pandemic is gonna be here to stay, and it's gonna be staying here for long. As an industry, we are the most affected because of this crisis today in the world. We all know the planes are grounded, the hotels are closed, and until we see these planes in the sky, all of us are affected in some way or the other. Our customers, most important part of our industry today, are scared, are under lockdown, and it's very important for us as an industry to revive. We need to create a more safe environment for people to travel. I think by now we have also understood through various debates, discussions, and government regulations that international travel is going to take a long time to recover. We see about 18 to 24 months period by when there will be a confidence build up between corporate travel as well as a leisure travel to travel abroad. Or to welcome international guests. Even if we have the vaccine available or the medicines to cure available soon, there'll still be a longer time period when we have international travel in place. And we understand domestic is one big chunk of the industry today. I mean, if you put numbers in perspective, as per the numbers by the Tourism Board of India, I mean, there are about 1.8 billion trips which were taken last year versus 26 million international trips taken by Indians. So that's about 1.44% of the total numbers. Even if we put international travel on the side and we focus on 1.8 billion domestic trips, we all know these numbers will go down for sure. So there will be a deficit in these numbers, but what if we can create environment, infrastructure, pricing structure, which can really help to increase local tourism, create new customers, create new price points. We might see not only a revival strategy, but a strategy to really, pick up the industry and, move from towards the part of growth. So anyway, so I mean, these are the numbers which we all know. Today, our idea with the panelists is to discuss various subjects and topics which can be done by all of us. Few questions we all have, and I'm going to just put the perspective in place. Are we looking for bailouts in our sector? Is it really possible, by the government to bail out, large companies in our sector, and then, spiral through the medium and small companies as well? How do we build confidence in individual traveler so that they feel safe while they travel? Will they have money to spend on travel? I mean, will the leisure travel be the first thing in their mind, or probably the last thing in their mind after the lockdown is open? How do we bring back business travel, which contributes more than about 50% of hotel occupancy today in India? And of course, various guidelines for the operators, hotels, etc. Right? So I'm going to start with one question, a general question to all the panelists. Like as this opens up, as the lockdown opens up, what's your opinion about domestic travel? I mean, do you think it will be a key driving factor, and will it really help us as a trade to survive? So I'm going to start with Mr. Rajeev Kohli. What's your take on it? And we'll go to all the panelists with this question.
Well, I think domestic travel has always been a factor. It's nothing to do with the virus. It's a fact, if we did not have the level and quantity of domestic travelers we have, the likes of the ADTOI, Taj, Leela's, ITCs would have gone out of business a long time ago. When I started in the industry, the white man was the golden goose, and we used to compete with the Germans against the Americans for the same room. Today, in the last few years, I've been telling my international clients, Mr. Smith is not the desirable customer at the hotel, because Mr. Gupta and Mr. Singh spend so much more on the ground. So domestic travel has always been there. It's just now perhaps going to be more of a focus, given that it's the lower hanging fruit of tourism. Will it be the only mainstream? No, but it's definitely out there for us to capitalize on.
Right. So, Mr. Khanna, you represent a lot of tour operators in India. I mean, what's your take on this aspect?
Gaurav, after this COVID-19, there shall be new drivership totally, no doubt about that. And we have to put a lot of restrictions. The government have to put a lot of restriction on the tourism, and new norms shall be in the tourism. Now, how to come out of that? It's very, very important that priority after relaxation of the lockdown is to move out of the homes, ease tensions, ease your depressions caused by this COVID-19, and subject to availability of resources, prioritize our move first to meet our near and dears. That's more important in the life, actually. And after that, business and events, and taking a short vacation at nearby destinations. No doubt, domestic is always on the front line. And as you also said, that 1.80 billion people are traveling within India. Still, we are number 3 in the world. Number 1 is America, where every domestic traveler, they travel almost 5 times in a year. And second is China. And every domestic traveler, they travel 3 times in a year. And if you really consider with our population, 1.35 billion to 1.80 billion, it comes to 1.25 something that we have to increase this. All this involves undertakings, journeys, and we go back to our service provider to arrange hotels and state tourism boards. That's very, very important that state tourism boards and the hoteliers, they play a very important role, because at this stage, at this cost, where exactly everybody is looking after the hotels to compete, and to state tourism boards in the reduction of the taxes. That's more important. for the domestic tourism in India.
Right. Ankush, what's your view on this? Do you really see domestic as the way forward?
So Gaurav, I think that's the only way to survive for the next 3 months. And you said majority of the business is outbound. I can promise you, be it large, small, or medium, everybody's going to look at this segment very, very closely now, including ourselves. Is it going to be the key focus for many of us? For sure, because I think one would not like to put all the eggs in one basket. And I don't see international happening for the next 3 months. So, I mean, from my side, I can tell you, and I'm sure many colleagues who have spoken across in the last few weeks, I think everybody is going to go full on, looking at the domestic business. The governments will be very open to it, because I know a lot of state governments have been talking about recovery plan, and I think that's where everybody should jump in. It will make the space more crowded, and I really wish and urge that everybody should maintain their margins, unlike what happens in the other segments of travel. But yes, people will start focusing. I think technology will play a very big route now, selling domestic, which a lot of us never focused. I mean, you know it better because you also run a great company. And I think Mr. Modi's wish, Ki India Dekho, I think is going to come true very quickly. So it's the survival. It's the only way to survive. I think next 3 to 6 months, there's no other way for any travel company to survive if you don't look at domestic very seriously. Yeah.
Sure. Tejbir, what do you think your view is, seeing and representing again a set of tour operators, especially from the adventure perspective, new way of travel. Do you think we're going to open up some new travel destinations? We're going to open up a new way to travel? Tejbir, I think you missed my question. So I'll first move to Dhananjay. From a hotelier perspective, do you think you see the light by the end of the tunnel right now? I mean, what is your outlook?
Like Rajeev, Ankush all mentioned that travel will happen, but who comes first? So if we as a hoteliers segment it into different buckets, we would immediately see a revival coming in from the business travel, because business has to happen, and this could be with all kinds of safety standards and procedure. The business travel will start off. Having said that, there is, like we are all here for the domestic tourism. Tourism will definitely shift gears. There won't be international travel. International tourists will want to go out, and then domestic is the only option. And I think the quick getaways or drive-away distances, which is comfortable, and a sense of confidence that your family is safe and you want to take a quick holiday, that could be the next one. Besides that, we also can look at things that like socials and weddings, which all used to happen in destinations out of India. And we are aiming that these kind of events will slowly move, of course, after the government lifts the social distancing norm. And this can also be another target market for us as hotels. And last but not the least is the MICE, the incentives, which is to be moving all across Southeast Asia, North America, Europe, will be the place in the next 1 year. We should target those kind of things to happen in India. So definitely tourism will happen. The government has to support, everybody has to work, state tourisms, all of them have to come together. And there should be a very strong campaign by the government, a marketing campaign driving Discover India by Indians, something like that we should entice or encourage all of us to see our own country, which a lot of people have not seen from north to south. Cool.
I guess the government is proactive in that space as well, because what I've heard is the State Tourism Board and the Incredible India are putting their focus back onto Dekho Apna Desh. That's a slogan. What I've heard is going to be floating very soon, and a lot of states are getting up to build sustainable tourism in their respective states. Having infrastructures or places to visit. I mean, these are the points we're going to discuss in more details also today. But before we move on, Tejbir, one word from you. How do you see domestic tourism? Is it a surviving factor for the trade? And do you see new destinations open up? Especially when you represent a group of travel agents who are focusing towards adventure travel. What's your take that how can we really create new destinations, new customers, etc.?
ideally speaking, I would say that domestic was always there. It's not that we're trying to reinvent domestic, but it's just that the focus is now completely on domestic so as to, quickly take a jump from a springboard and be back in action. We all know that it's a young country. We all know that the youth dominates our country. We all know that in the mountains come the summer months, and they have been flooded with the youth. Not in the summer, I would say that even winters, summers, they're all over the mountains, walking, hiking, camping. I'm pretty sure that the moment this opens up, two factors are going to play a real big time into this. Is A, that because of the social distancing, people would want to go to those places which are not crowded, which do not have many people, where people can walk alone. Social distancing is something which will happen by the rule of nature. Everyone's seen pictures, on WhatsApp and videos, blue skies and bright stars at night, and wildlife coming on the main highways. So nature-based tourism is the way forward. Adventure travel by default, because of its DNA, comes into the picture. It's a young country, and I think it's just a matter of opening the gates, and we're good to go.
Sure, absolutely. And this leads to one important point which we have actually heard lately. Isolated travel or travel in isolation. I don't know whether this terminology is going to be a new normal going forward, because more and more people, who wants to travel. I mean, I would like to travel, post this lockdown, but there's always a fear in my mind when I take my family out, whether how am I traveling? Am I traveling in local trains or airlines? Are these mode of transportation safe enough, at least for the next 12 months? Also, if I'm traveling by my own car, so at least I'm safe because I'm isolated from the public. But again, the question is about the destination where I'm going. Am I staying in a good hotel which is taking care of enough standards about safety, cleanliness, etc. Also, as Tejbir mentioned, are you traveling to destinations which are less crowded but provide you equal amount of relaxation and time out? I don't know whether people need time out with family anymore, but I'm sure people are really frustrated being at home, and people would travel to some extent, be it a leisure travel. I'm sure it will be, if not the top priorities, it would be at least at second or third priorities in the list. People will travel for religion, people will travel to meet their families, people will travel for, for a small weekend get outs, etc. This leads to another question, that if that is what we are looking at, will it affect the airline and the railways, where we always see huge crowds at the airports, at the railway stations? Of course, the bogies of the railways are always overcrowded, and people are sitting, in one space, 2 or 3 people are sitting and doing their travel. How do we chalk this out? So, Mr. Khanna, do you like to put your thoughts onto it, that how do you see these panning out? Does it going to affect the railways or bus operators or the airlines moving forward?
See, as today everybody is talking about the domestic tourism, it will be nearby destinations only. Nearby destinations means as-pass travel.
Yeah.
And airlines, as you said, they have already announced, if the capacity of any aircraft is 300, suppose, they will not be carrying more than 100 to safeguard the safety of the passengers. The same in the case of railways also. You have seen that Indian Railways is the biggest networking in the world. So all the stations are overcrowded. Wherever you go, even go to the small stations, they are all overcrowded. Now the government has to take care of that and have to sanitize all the railways that people are doing like. Already government is on their job, and everybody has to take care about that, because taking into consideration the social distancing, that's very important. So that is going to affect, because people will be afraid of traveling by airline or by the railways or by the road transport. What exactly is their priority? To take their own car, to travel with their own family, so that they feel safe and they are safe. That will take into priority. And once they are taking their own cars, when they are traveling with their own car, it will be a nearby destinations only. And they will be traveling nearby destinations where exactly we will looking like Bombay to Pune, or maybe Delhi to Agra, or to Jaipur, or maybe to Bhanesar, or the same way the people will be traveling very nearby destination. That will be their priority.
Yeah.
Avoiding airlines and the railways and the public transport.
Absolutely. And so, if we focus on the nearby destinations, what we understand, there are limited number of hot key destinations around, the metros. And of course, there are few destinations which are normally used, and that's why we call it the hot destinations. Do you see it's going to impact, maybe create a over tourism there? Or do you see, and the challenges towards, opening up new destinations? Like, I'll give an example. In the last, I've heard in the last few months, there are many interesting lakes and places near Alwar, which is just about 150 kilometers away from Delhi. But there's no infrastructure there. There are no hotels, no restaurants, you hardly would find a local, government guest house in a really bad conditions there. So do you think new destinations needs to be opened up, or if not, then your current destinations becomes overcrowded?
Yes. Not thinking of the protection of ecosystem of that particular region. Some of the destinations which are very popular among the travelers are overcrowded and overexploited also. Result, we are seeing everybody, that what comes to the experiencing, we are seeing global warming. Now, during season, there are places where even local resources are depleting, and they are deprived of their own basic amenities, like even the water. Instead of providing responsible and sustainable tourism at the region, we find mountains, garbage, strewn at all places. Like Tejbir also said, a lot of the mountains are still, the garbage strewn, and we find it. And these are only created by the locals and by the tourists, and it endangers the flora and fauna of our country. It is the right time now, when during the lockdown, everything is now clean. Like we are talking about the lakes, we are talking about the blue sky, the stars, everything's so clean now. Everything, the atmosphere is so good, everything is so, climate is so good. It is the right time to make a good beginning to have a responsible and sustainable tourism across country. That is my request to everybody.
Absolutely. Definitely, we can't agree more. This is the time where, people have realized that nature has its own way to correct. And as a human race, we've all understood it the hard way. And I love the fact that, the airs are clean, and definitely, global warming is currently the last thing on anybody's mind. Of course, that's a topic which is a big concern going forward. But in the next 1 year, 2 years, people are definitely trying to see that how we can really have, as you rightly said, sustainable tourism, responsible tourism. Ankush, I'm gonna move it to you and ask you about. You work with a lot of hotels, airlines, and distributing their inventory to the Indian market, of course, and the international. You have actually spread your wings to a lot of destinations. So do you see in these destinations, when we focus towards domestic, there are enough hotel accommodation facilities which are bookable? The hotels which are off the grid, when I say, offline, is they have good amount of inventory, but normally they are booked either in destination when people reach at the hotel, or through phones and, the old means of booking through travel agents. What is your take on consolidating them, bringing most of this online to help generate more tourism in these destinations, and really not waste that inventory?
Absolutely. So Gaurav, even 2 weeks before, we had an internal call, and that was something which we discussed. Pick up hotels across the country, be it 3-star, 4-star, 5-star. They can even be villas, can be cottages, can be heritage homes, because all of these particular segments will have demand in the domestic, be it close from home, or even, let's say, a few months from now, it can be even in Shillong with somebody who like to land in Guwahati and do the sightseeing there in an unexplored area. I think tech will play a very important role, because most of these aggregators, unfortunately, Gaurav, are very non-tech savvy. They still, believe in that typical offline way of booking, pick up the phone, or, you kind of email them and so on and so forth. I think aggregation for us as a bed bank, to consolidate the inventory for the market, which is obviously our long tail small and medium travel agents across the country, will now ask for this. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to lay this out. And I'm sure any other OTAs, whether it be it, especially in the B2B space, who weren't focusing on the domestic, I think will now seriously look at this market. So I think we will help them giving them technology which they might use as an extranet, right? Which they can actually start filling up rates for us. I think there's some education will be required. I think this is going to be an important area for us to aggregate supply, be across all segments of the accommodation in the domestic scene.
Sure. Okay, for all the attendees, I would like to mention, I've got one question about Mr. Lohani. So he has sent his apologies. He could not attend today's session because of some urgent work he had. So definitely he promised us to join us in the next sessions. So we're going to continue, without Mr. Lohani today. Hopefully, any questions for him, we're going to send him an email and probably get an answer soon. So moving forward, Tejbir, back to you about how do you see the focus of the travelers, or the consumers coming to those untapped destinations, on one hand, we understand from Mr. Khanna that yes, there are issues about, garbages, etc. People not being responsible when they travel, and that's why a lot of new destinations normally restrict travel. They don't want to spoil, their destinations. But we all know, today everybody needs to sustain, and they need to create more opportunities for the people to visit, from building infrastructure locally, having more restaurants, or having more shopping areas, having more hotels in those destinations. So what do you see going forward? Will there be any movement there, or are we going to just be in the same state as we were?
So one of the good news is that nature teaches us, the hard way if we don't conduct ourselves responsibly. So it's a very known thought that, Indian travelers are not that, responsible as compared to the other travelers in the world. That's the sad part. We Indians become fantastic travelers when we go overseas and we make role models for ourselves. But the moment you land back home, so the stories are galore. The good news is that I looked at the map of India, I think 3-4 days back. Times of India published the map of India with hotspots of COVID, and 50% of the country was COVID-free, which was fantastic. I was very happy to see that map, and I did circulate that map across to all my partners in India, overseas, my clients, and that was a genuine map. The second point is that, which I have mentioned, that nature-based tourism is going to go very high. People will be looking for those pockets of excellence which are virus-free, which have perhaps very less numbers, and which people got cured. And interestingly, the destinations are more or less like the Himalayan belts, like the national parks of India, and so on. If we also try and name few destinations which are kind of almost good to go, are J&K, Ladakh, Himachal, Uttarakhand, almost entire Northeast India is quite good to go. Bhutan, Nepal, even the Western Ghats, all the national parks in the country. I think these are the I won't take the term hotspot because hotspot is being used in a negative way now with COVID, hotspot, but these are the nature-based, hotspots where people will throng for sure. Another thing which I'm very sure of is that mass tourism is going to be replaced by responsible tourism. People have learned the hard way to wash their hands 10 times a day, try to find the garbage bin, dispose their garbage in a responsible manner. I see that with my own eyes, So these are the good things which have happened out of COVID. And I'm sure that Indian travelers will be looking at these destinations and and a more responsible traveler going way ahead.
That's good. I think that's a great positive outlook, for these destinations. And you really think the infrastructure is ready to welcome the customers in terms of the roads approaching to these destinations and, of course, the local facilities?
Interestingly, nature-based tourism and where natural heritage is promoted, you don't need much infrastructure because the bent of mind is that I'm going to enjoy nature. I'm not going there to stay in a great 5-star luxury resort. Fair enough, there would be a segment, and there are some, there is quite a bit infrastructure for those people. But majority of the people who would be going for nature-based tourism are happy with decent kind of setups also. And if it's an adventure traveler, your backpack, your tent is pretty good to go. My company deals with a lot of organizations and institutions and FIT segment. We've never faced a challenge of infrastructure because that is not the first thing on the mind. The first thing is as to where we are, which experience are you going to cater to, what activity we're going to do, so we bring back memories back home. And of course, then is the logistics. How do you take us and where do we stay? But that's okay. That's not the main objective.
Mm-hmm. Super. So I'm going to come to Mr. Kohli. Very interesting numbers I'm going to play with here and try to see your views, because you're focusing towards a lot about inbound tourism as well. And, by numbers, there were about 10 million foreign tourists which landed in India last year, and they spent about 25 or $28 billion, averaging about 1.2 some odd lakh rupees per person, okay? Versus 26 million people traveling from India abroad. And we don't have the official figure, but it's definitely more than 1.2 lakh rupees per person when they spend overseas. Now, how do we see this customer who was traveling overseas? We can bring him back to India, give him more options for domestic travel, and monetize that value which he was planning to spend overseas in shopping, in restaurants, and of course activities and various other factors. Do you see that happening, and what's your advice to the trade to do that?
So I think one very fundamental thing people need to understand within India and abroad, India does not have a problem with money, okay? Everyone on this call, all the 487, 88 people have traveled, have a nice car, have a nice TV, have a nice watch. Indians have no problem with money. Where the Indian travel industry has gone wrong, and I will probably offend a great deal of my friends with what I'm going to say next, is that we have no luxury travel agents in this country. We have all of us doing some luxury business, booking an occasional ADTOI, Taj, whatever, but we don't have a base of luxury suppliers as we see in the Western world or even in the Far East. And that's a fact, because when you look at who goes overseas from our outbound base, you see that. You look at how domestics are sold, you see that. Indians are not great at selling on value, especially in our industry. Therefore, the only tool that the travel industry has taken within India is to sell on price. What has subsequently happened is that qualitative customer who is going abroad is going direct. They're booking on Expedias, they're booking on other platforms, they're reaching out to DMCs and suppliers directly overseas. And this is not anecdotal. This is my information from the ground, from my hotel friends and travel agent friends and tour operator friends across the world. Now, to get that customer to book and spend the same amount, if not more, within the country is not a difficult task, because spending the money is not the issue. Telling them how to spend the money and what to spend the money on is a story. It's not that come spend money in my hotel because I'm charging you more. Are we expressing a value? Are we expressing we have great food? Are we expressing we're giving you a unique accommodation or sightseeing experience? I mean, don't forget, we like to shop. I mean, the women, they go to Calcutta, they will buy the saris. They go to Varanasi, they will buy the saris. You go to Jaipur, people buy clothes. That opportunity exists and people are doing it. It's just that the same person going abroad, when they travel within the country, is traveling differently, but probably still spending the same or more. So I don't think it should be a question of they're spending so much overseas, will they spend so much within the country? If a person has the propensity to spend, it is their lifestyle, it is their way of living. And everyone traveling abroad is not spending the 1.2 lakhs necessarily. And every foreigner coming to India is not spending that much money as well. But there is enough base of customers for this industry to target with a value proposition, be it on accommodation, be it on input. The domestic industry needs to move away from selling just hotels and hill stations and beach destinations.
Yep.
There's a lot more that can be done.
Sure. And I think a very important point which Ankush also mentioned is, we have customers who are ready to spend money and probably we need to show them the way. But, the point which how the travel agents can really keep enough margins in the middle, because we really need to have a healthy margin for survival. We have seen this price war happening, prices going down, there's not much revenues for the travel agencies, and in a way we have actually shot on our own leg, what I feel.
Well, somebody's asked the question, Gaurav, and it's an interesting question. This person asked it pretty much at the beginning. What do you suggest to reduce profit margins? Okay, so I run a medium to large size business. One of the things we did a few years ago was work out what is the cost of running my business. Everyone on this call today on the tour operator DMC side has an average of 4 to 6 to 7% cost of running their business. I think, Ankush, that's a fair number.
Yeah, depends each to its own, absolutely.
But, that range. So you need to make that 4 to 7% first before you make a profit. We as an industry, be it inbound, be it outbound, be it MICE, be it weddings, it doesn't matter. We have, pardon my language, screwed ourselves incredibly well by going on price. There was no reason to. Okay? If we collectively say, guys, we need to make minimum 10, 15%. You may do less passengers, but you will do higher value.
Absolutely. So, Ankush, you want to add something to this?
So, I want to add on what Rohit said, Gaurav.
Rajeev, this is the other brother.
I talked to both. I was speaking to him yesterday, so I'm a little confused. Sorry, Rajeev. So, and they're equally close to me, right? The luxury, the rich people of India, when they travel, unfortunately, never looked at India in a very serious way. They were always going to Barcelona and whatever the other countries. I think that traffic will come back to India, at least for the short term, will not definitely bring luxury into domestic. I've never seen anybody loitering around in the Oberois, for a holiday. You'll hardcore see guys with jackets doing business and so on and so forth. Second is regarding margins. I completely agree with what Rajeev said. The only thing is, I think Corona will teach people how to make money. They will teach them how to do business differently, because what has happened in the last 30 years, none of us witnessed except 9/11 and a little bit of swine flu, which was very, very regional. It didn't affected the whole world. I think people will now realize the value of cash and surplus, because everybody today was kind of leveraged or going hand to mouth. I think now people will start working on healthier margins, as what Rajeev said, to ensure that something like this happens again in 5 years. You have enough money lying there at the back. Plus, I think quality will survive going forward. I think this industry will see some shunting. I'm sorry, there might be some friends of mine on here might not survive after 6 months, but I think that will further help bringing margins much more healthier.
So that's a big worry, because that's another question people have, that will people travel? I mean, the people who used to spend on luxury travel, international travels, travel would be a little, back in their priority list. So what's your take? I mean, what should be the way forward to bring them back on track?
People will travel.
Is it for me?
Yes, Ankush, back to you.
I think people will be resilient for the initial till Diwali, I would say. But, I think as Indians, we are more immune to this mentally. and there are talks on internally, yeah, let's do this in Diwali. I think it's 6 months, which is a big challenge. I think somebody who will survive this 6 months will be a winner in 2021. Plus,
Sure.
who knows, and a vaccine is lying there. I mean, I don't be saying that the game's being played. I personally believe the vaccine is already there. It's just that they want 500,000 people to die, and then China will say, $1 ki dawai humse $100 pe le lo. So this is my personal belief, not that anybody's told me, but I think life has to move on. Plus, when the airlines start taking the precautions, like what Emirates was trying to do, that COVID-free pass in 10 minutes, I think once that is sorted, I think a lot of confidence will come back.
Yeah. So, that leads to my question towards Dhananjay, from a hotelier's perspective. I mean, do you think the ministries are planning to do something to create a synchronized travel policies across India, where they are trying to create certain, SOPs for the hotels, for the transportation companies to have more, standard policies? As I said, do you see, what do you see from a hotelier perspective? It's the regulations are coming in, or are you building your own procedures?
For now, we are all working on putting together a program which will be the new SOPs in the hotel business. And I'm sure, talking on behalf of the industry, I think mostly everybody is working on the safety first. That's going to be the new marketing gimmick. If you're not safe enough, it's whatever you charge, whatever you use the pricing, doesn't matter. And there is where all of us have to work a little bit more and see. Then the next comes the offerings. The offerings should be really, really beyond just a hotel room, like Rajeev was saying. I think we have to go the extra mile in terms of storytelling, collective packages, all-inclusive packages, which especially people coming for a holiday. So holiday is a lifestyle part of the business. I mean, while business people come in, check out, and there it's done. Now it is, you're bringing your family. Is it safe enough, the hotel? So a complete programming is happening from the ops team, how to really, in the back of the house and front of the house and every guest interaction points, that we are going to handle guest interaction coming in, not even starting from the airport, right into the hotel and then again out. So this is something that we need to kind of working on. Most corporate houses and companies already have said that. And one interesting fact, there'll be two kinds of travelers in the end. The one is simple, who's a corporate traveler, but he's governed by his company even to go on a holiday travel. A lot of corporate companies, when we did similar webinars with them, they mentioned that they will not allow, or they will have some restrictions for their corporate employees to go on a holiday. So till they get an approval from their company, they can't go on a holiday. So there is a set of people who are entrepreneurs, business houses, and have their own thing, who are risk takers. And I'm sure that will be the first bit of people who would go on a holiday. And hotels have to be geared up to take on any level of hotel, be it 5-star or even a 2-star. So this work is happening, and I think the government should support in all these factors, and it should be a complete advisory that comes in, and one should follow to the T.
Sure. And, when we talk about the standard operating procedures, there is one important aspect which, with our discussions from a technology perspective, because we are busy talking to a lot of our corporate customers, to a lot of airlines whom we work with, and of course the travel agents in the middle. What we figured out, one key problem is pre-screening, and that's one important aspect which everybody has raised, that when the airline's going to welcome the customer on board, or the hotel's going to, have these customers walking into their lobby, the question is this passenger pre-screened with the COVID-19 test, or if not test, do we have his rating, whether he's a green, orange, or red? Like what we do with the government initiative on Arogya app tells you based upon your inputs, and of course, whom do you met, your rating about how likely and unlikely, you would have this kind of virus. And that, if bundled up with a lot of other key vital factors or statistics into one kind of a data bank, And if that data is being used by the airlines or the hotels, do you think there would be a procedure like that? Like, since 9/11, we saw the entire hotel, entry changed. There are scannings, there are X-ray machines, the airports had them. So, and we are living with it, since last almost 19 years. Do you think there will be a new procedures for health safety screening?
Yeah, I think Gaurav, like you rightly said, hygiene is, or safety standards will be the new mantra in marketing, and ensuring the customer and giving the customer confidence, be it corporate traveler or be it holiday domestic traveler, doesn't matter. So, and like you rightly said, there are many companies asking us that, tell us the first thing and give us a communication plan that we can circulate to all our travelers, that you are doing this 10 things in your hotel to ensure safety procedures. So if you have some technology backed by that, and I'm sure corporates can buy it, and or we can as hotels look at it, like we spoke earlier, on a wristband or something that can measure your fitness levels in terms of fever, cold, whatever it is, and you are put into a bracket of a red zone, orange zone, or a green zone, and then we know what kind of treatment the person has to be given. Yes, it will be a little, it will not be the same norm, not the same welcome. Welcome will be from a hygiene station where mask will be a compulsory thing when you walk in, sanitizing will be the compulsory thing, and all this will be part of the travel. So the question is, you have to do it, and the government will have to take that as serious as much as.
Rajeev, what do you like to add on to this?
So Gaurav, when was the last time anyone remembers in India without a metal detector walking into a hotel? Where else in the world do you need to show your ticket before entering the airport? These are new normals. Big deal. I mean, a lot of countries need to get a yellow fever certificate before coming to India. I mean, I have a permanent yellow fever certificate. So these will be new rules that will emerge globally. It's not going to be about India. It's going to be a global new rule, and we'll get used to it. Big deal.
So you mean to say I'm going to have a COVID certificate on my mobile when I walk in?
Who knows? We don't even know what the damn disease is yet.
Sure.
They haven't figured that out. I mean, I was watching some videos today where Americans are on the streets protesting open our economy. We don't care. I mean,
absolutely.
That's in America, yeah.
Ankush, what do you like to add into this?
I did speak to some few owners, who run successful hotels in the Aero City area. I think what DJ just said, minimizing the interaction between the check-in and the guests will surely happen. But beyond that, there will be actions like multiple shifts at the breakfast to minimize the crowd gathering. There will be nothing like a buffet for some time.
Yeah.
Everything will be a la carte. You will have to do pre-fixed
in-room dining
over to your room.
Boom.
There'll be no housekeeping till you don't want them to come. There'll be nothing like your blanket, your linen change or a pillow change, especially if you're staying less than 3 days. I think there will be a lot of your lifts to be sanitized every 10 minutes. Your handles will be now remote control because nobody wants to touch the handles. So these are the crazy things. Apart from what I completely agree what Rajeev said, but apart from that, this will be certain small things which the hotels will have to take care just to ensure the safety of the passenger or even their own housekeeping staff. Or
Star Trek is coming soon. That world, press a button, beam me up.
No, absolutely. So I think these are great, valuable insights or suggestions. And I'm sure, with the speed of technology, the way it is moving, and of course, seeing the situation, the brains will work behind it. And no sooner we're going to have more technology to help us to travel and, have a touchless travel, as Ankush said, lift starts with voice commands, and suddenly, I'm speaking in Hindi and, I'm stuck at a particular floor. But anyways, moving forward on this, Mr. Khanna, I'm coming back to you on a very important aspect here is about MICE, okay? Business travel, we all know is something has to happen, right? But MICE contributes a lot of other things as well. I mean, incentive travel, there's conferences, there are travel related to weddings and, other gatherings. Do you think India is ready for MICE, big MICE? I mean, do we have destinations, hotels, which can accommodate 500,000 people, and how many such destinations are there? What's your take on this particular aspect?
Gaurav, MICE is a very big segment in India. Out of total revenue of 2 lakh crores in the domestic market, MICE has in 2018 figures I have almost 25,000 crores for the MICE revenue in India. And it is no doubt about that, whether it's a meetings, whether it's a incentives or conferences, exhibitions, weddings, whatever it is, India is going to be a big market. Why I'm saying, because now coming up the new venues, which exactly is coming very soon by next year in Tejbir ground, which is the largest one in Asia. And after that, one is also constructed in Dwarka also, I think. I heard that. That too is coming by the next year. But, that's very, very important that, yes, the question is that how do we adjust 500 people gathering in that hall, which has a capacity of 500 or 600 or 700. In that case, now it has to be distributed into one meeting has to be distributed according to, the timings and everything. One meeting starts at 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, where out of 500 people, 100 will be joining that with a distancing, social distancing in that. And after that, 2 to 4 another meeting, 4 to 8 another meeting. So in one day we can do like this. Another, because of the which I said that venues are coming, the big venues are coming, they can really take into that. If even 10,000 people are there, they can accommodate because of the big venues are there.
But
a lot of hotels,
hotels will happen. Like today we are happy doing a virtual conference.
Yes, correct.
What stops us to have 10,000 attendees in this conference?
So at the moment, yes, you are very rightly said. Virtual meetings are happening, and it is still happening. We are also doing some MICE events also, and we are doing virtual meetings here. And we are also part of few of the, the big associations where we are getting still good, the queries about to doing the meetings and virtual. For another 2-3 months, still it is not set up. Everything is not set up. I don't have that kind of a graphic which I can show you here, but definitely hall, which could accommodate if you take the, the theater style or the cluster style. On the cluster style, earlier it used to be table of 10 people. Now it will be divided into 4 people now. So 500 people if there is there, as I said, it will be distributed into 2-3 meetings. So that is the only way. But definitely we are talking
about weddings. I can see a question also coming in from the attendees. Weddings also contributes a big part of this segment.
Yes, wedding is another thing. And Indian weddings, that not less than 300 to 400 people. But that again is going to be another aspect in a big grounds, big halls, big venues where they can accommodate and with the permission of that, the supplier. That's more important. And with taking into safety and security of each and everybody. That will be happening like this.
All right. So, one important aspect before I move on with this, this is the audience. We are running small polls during this discussion. So I will encourage everybody to participate in the poll and put your answers. That's gonna help us to get a lot of insight about your participation and of course the topics which you would like to hear in future. So we're gonna be running these polls as we speak. I guess I saw one of the polls running while we were talking about it. So I have one very important question to the journal panel about LTA travel. That's a big travel segment, government travel and the incentives. What is the take on it? How we can monetize it, or it's already been monetized? There is a way where the trade can really get a bigger benefit out of the LTA travel. Anybody who thinks can contribute to this?
Yeah, I would like to say that, at the moment, this is the LTA is only for the government organizations and they get once in a year. Okay. Now, and these are only restricted to 2 states, which is one is J&K, the other is Northeast. Now, what government has to see, now we don't know exactly, though at the moment, Northeast is very safe, as well as J&K is also very safe about the figures and everything. But why not to monetize that we have 28 states and 9 union territories? We should be requesting to the government to open different sectors so that people have choice to go there. And apart from that, the second, another thing is that, lot of, the banks and the PSUs, they are offering a foreign travel LTS also to their employees also. So now the foreign travel will be restricted. So now what it can be done to the, the LTC or LTA in India, and they can, take the opportunity of traveling in India itself. Dekho apna desh, like our Pradhan Mantri says, like dekho apna desh, why not to see that our own country? We have a beautiful country, we have everything. We have hills, we have beaches, we have, deserts, everything we have here. We have lakes, cruises we have. So, but only the thing is how to monetize it. Rightly said, that exactly more areas has to be open for the LTA. That is my request. Not only restricted to, I don't have any problem with the Northeast. Yes, they are the, the sections where government want to, promote Northeast area and the Jammu and Kashmir area. But for the time being, till this effect is there, we should open the other sectors also, other states also.
And tell me one thing, when do you see the states opening up the marketing, exercise? Because that's where you create aspirations with the customers and the travelers. And this question goes to even Dhananjay, when do you see hotels opening up their marketing, So start with Mr. Dhananjay, how, and then we'll come to Mr. Khanna, again back to you on the state levels.
Hotels, we are kind of working on all our revival plans and to go in for the market, and domestic tourism is one part of the entire plan. So offerings, education to agents, we have already started doing webinars and kind of education to all the association. So I think education is very important. Travel agents, moreover, should be very much knowledgeable about the destinations. Personalization is going to be the new mantra. I think again, people, if they will personalize their product, personalize their offerings with a lot of value additions, will be an easy sell. And that should not be limited only with the travel trade. By now, we used to only partner with travel trade to do it. We used to pay for a room and a bed and breakfast rates, and then float the rates. But if we have a partnership with the travel agent and give it right there at the counter, across the counter as well, and also distribute with all-inclusive, with some activities, with some sightseeing on it, I think this will give the value to the customer when he's coming as what he gets for a 10,000 rupees all-inclusive, and then perceiving it to be only a bed and breakfast. So we are triggering out some different things that we can, how we can incentivize the travel agents by giving them some offerings that will encourage more bookings towards us. Yeah, this will continue as and when we see how growth patterns move, how the travel moves. There is no cookie cut approach at this stage, and we will navigate this through the coming months.
So, Mr. Khanna, what do you see at the state level? Do you think states gonna start marketing soon?
Yeah, it's very important that, the states have to do a lot of publicity campaigns through social media, or maybe through video, or through promotional activities. They have to do. And first of all, to attract the people there, first of all, they have to do through social media that they have to tell the people that they are safe. This state is a very safe.
Sure.
And for that, you have to, kind of create a good infrastructure, cleanliness, safety, security, and also connectivity to the states is very, very important. If you don't have any connectivity, people say if you are safe, this thing, but we will be in trouble if you really visit to a state. So infrastructure is one thing which is very important, and also the connectivity even to the remote places. Now the new destinations, a lot of states are now coming with the new destinations. If you are attracting people to a new destination, but is there connectivity is there? That's an important factor. So you have to create the connectivity also is a more important, apart from the, yes, marketing strategy, they have to be very, very aggressive with that and say, we are safe and we are very secure, and we also care for your safety and security.
Right. No, but there's a contradiction here as well. Like lately we heard, Goa said, we are very safe. We have all recovered 7 cases and no more cases, and we do not welcome tourism. I'm sure they're talking about a near future and not on a long-term basis. How do you see? Because that has also created a lot of issues in the trade. That if there is a safe destination and if we can't market it, then what's the point? What do you see there? I mean, do you see that soaking up?
See, it depends on the, the states, how do they campaign themselves. The marketing strategy, if it is strong, if they say they are safe, but provided people also know only after visiting that state. If only if one group or 1 or 10 people, they go there and they see there's any problem, it is word of mouth, it spreads all over the country. So they cannot say, it has to be a collective efforts, not only with that, even with the center and the states also.
Absolutely.
I think with Mr. Khanna, I just want to also add that, yeah, hotels also as an infrastructure, the final thing is we have to live overnight in and stay in a place. It could be any state, anywhere, and any hotel company. I think the main thing is communicate that confidence, the plan which goes into all travelers, be it corporate, be it travel trade, and something should be all on our websites, communicating that piece that we are a safe hotel, and these are the few things that we are adapting into it.
Okay, my next question is for Ankush. I mean, I'm coming to you again on, the rate parity. I mean, a very important aspect, people understand that demand's going to go down. The quality of travel has to go up. Hotels have to spend more on various health issues or, sanitizations, etc. Do you think there's going to be rate parity, or there'll be a price war again at the hotel level or at the airline level? And what's your take? What's your advice to these guys?
On the hotel side, Gaurav, I think there's going to be no parity. It's going to be get the demand first. I think the biggest challenge which most of the hotels are going to face is getting demand for the next 6 to 8 months. I strongly believe because of this, there might be an over surge as well. So it depends. If there's a lot of demand, they will probably, if there's no demand, they will. So I think it's going to be very dynamic. Plus, I think for some reason, some hotels will only operate with a 50% occupancy. I'm talking for a medium size hotel. So how will they fill the balance? I think it's time will tell. I think it's very early days to actually predict, but there won't be rate parity. I think hotels will go all in to get sure that they get the bumps on the bed. On the airlines, I think the price would be expensive than what it used to be, let's say in February. The reasons why, because 50% of a flight domestic of 180 seater Airbus 320 will obviously have this social distancing norm. So I think the airline fares to a Delhi, Mumbai, just to give an example, would be anywhere between 8,000 to 9,000 versus what it used to be at 4,500, 5,000 a couple of months back. But hotels, I think the pricing is going to be dynamic. It's going to be open, and see how the demand starts unfolding as we move forward post the lockdown.
I hope, the prices doesn't work how the oil went, and the hotels have to pay back to the customers to come and stay in my hotel. I'm going to make money through other services like food and other stuff. I mean, anyways, I mean, jokes aside, important aspect is what are we doing as a hotel or the destination about, other services. And again, coming back to Tejbir, is local activities, local events, new ways to make money. Do we see hotel adding up 3 or 4 additional services in the hotel cost? So maybe a 10,000 rupee hotel drop down to 6,000, but then you have added products to it to make it back to 10,000. So the revenue is there, but then you're providing more services to the customer in that price range. Do you think that's going to happen? And what do you think is going to happen in consolidation of those activities and local events?
So Gaurav, of course, these add-on businesses will come up, these small strategies will be adopted for sure. But let me try and, address this question in a different format.
Sure.
Let me tell the house 2 quick stories, and I'll try and connect with the client segment now. This might give them a great, idea as to what the consumer is thinking, what the client segment is thinking. So here, we're just talking amongst ourselves as suppliers, as stakeholders, as trade people. So I spoke to a CFO of a corporate company, and I spoke to a school principal, and the CFO said that, Tejbir, what we are not going to do now is we're going to save money on our business travel. So which means as less flights as possible. We're going to save money on our hotel accommodation. We're going to do video conferencing as much as we can. Digital signatures is what will be the norm of the hour. No pubs, no bar parties. High-end cars are not needed. No Mercs, no BMWs. We're very happy with Innovas and Desires. So the transporters, friends, can actually align these thoughts with how a corporate honcho is thinking. Then I said, what will sell? What do you want us to do? He said that offsite. So we're very happy, trying to give money for offsite because we want the teams to go out. So enough of, staying at home and depression stories. So the moment this opens up, I'm very happy to, give you X amount of money, go to a remote place, go to a camp, go to a resort, go to anywhere which is not overpopulated, go in a remote corner, take on a trainer, let him give you some gyan, let him, do some team bonding activities, exercises, etc., etc. So that is where I'll put my money. And he also said that I'm very happy to sign a year-long contract with you with all those camps and hotels because I don't want to do ad hoc anymore. So this is good news, I think, for people who own camps and resorts in far-flung areas. Second, the principal said of the school that no more leisure trips. So we are not doing any trips to the known destinations. We only want to, again, go to remote areas. We want to go take our children for our camps and our treks because I'm sure in this house also, there will be many operators who work with a lot of schools and corporates. So for them, this is great news. She said that it's the nature, it's a revived nature now. So I spoke about the blue skies. I spoke about the green, the stars at night. I spoke about wildlife coming out on the road. Ganga, Holy River Ganga is portable now. You can drink straight out of the river. So she said, this is what I want to give to my students. So whenever the time comes, this is the kind of trip and the business that we want to roll out and work with you guys. Talking about the FID segment, family travel is going to be the next buzz, I think, because the Gen Z and the Alpha, which ranges between 4 and 12 years, are going to drive home as to where do they want to go, what do they want to do. PATA says that 4.6% CAGR growth on domestic tourism is what they expect to happen. Families which are tech savvy. So tech savvy families are the ones which you need to target. They will avoid flights, they will avoid trains. Self-driving holidays will be the in thing. People would like to drive in their own cars to the motor place, stay in nice boutique properties, spend money. Money is not a problem. Like Ankush said, money was never a problem. Rajeev also said that. Money was never a problem in a country like India. It was just a concept and a theme as to what you were trying to sell. And lastly, I also was thinking all the time about MSME because every time the government used to come up and say MSME, MSME. So we got registered, both our companies and under MSME, although we haven't taken any advantage of that. But then I logged on to their marketplace. They have a marketplace called GEM. And I saw that although there is no place for a tour operator like me, but they have enough business that they want to give to transporters and for ticketing. So I don't know if that's a great idea. If people want to, people who are in the business of ticketing, people who own transport, if you want to do that, so government is a great place to be. And these 4 segments, I think, make a lot of sense.
Right. Okay, so I'm coming to to the set of questions which is related to the travel agents. The survival. We saw there's a big risk at the employment level in our industry. I mean, our industry is known to create employment and easy employment to anybody. So what do we see as a future? Are we seeing huge amount of job losses, pay cuts, which is happening anyways? So how do we see we bring this back? I will start with Mr. Kohli. What's your take on it? Do you think with the employment at risk, travel agents do they see a future right now?
Oh. So I've been involved with Faith, IATO, CII in various conversations, and our single ask from the government is payroll support. Forget everything else. Forget your GSTs, forget your SEIS, forget your taxes. That's a later battle. And I was listening to a call yesterday with, I think it was Ficky, having a call with the Secretary of Labor. All those industrialists, much larger companies than any one of us, all of them said the same thing. You want us to pay salaries, there's no business. And today, the Maharashtra government order to pay salaries irrespective was overturned in the courts. It is a sad situation. Jobs will be lost. Salaries are cut. We have already cut salaries in one way or another. There was no choice. Whether those salaries will come back to the current or pre-COVID numbers, it's a matter of when, but it's going to be a situation where I can only say to my team members, and a lot of them are on this call, is that as employers, I know all my colleagues in the industry will let people go only as the last option. There's something very unique and different about this group of people that love to sell travel, because in other industries, in other parts of the world, they've been ruthless. But it's going to be a two-way street. It's no longer, you know, good days, and everybody is going to have to sacrifice, be it you are a senior company head to a junior most person. It's a bloodbath unless the government of India chips in. And unfortunately, of all the global economies, the only thing we're doing is still having committee meetings and asking for data.
Yeah, because, you know, there are the numbers speaks for themselves that do we have enough money with the government to actually, you know, pay up these salaries? And is travel, I mean, one of the sectors, but there are other major sectors which are core sectors to be in, you know, be it telecom or, you know, agriculture or other sectors, which would,
you know, Gaurav,
over tourism.
But one thing which is going to hurt our industry a lot is our players in the travel industry have been disorganized in the way they have been working, dispersing salaries, hiring people. Okay? Not everybody is signed up with Provident Fund. Not everybody has employment contracts. Not everybody is paying their employees fully by check. Now, in the Western countries, it's very easy for the government of the UK to pay 80% as a furlough because every employee is in the system. In our country, that's not the case. So whereas companies like mine and Ankush's and Tejbir's and PP's, where we follow good practices in labor laws, a lot of our players are not been following that. So when they want to go to the government and say, I need money, the government is going to ask, but where and how is that going to go? How many of our members of the various associations are recognized with the Ministry of Tourism? Now, if the Ministry of Tourism had to give money out, it's going to find its hands tied to only give it to people, hotels, tour operators, travel agents who they have licensed. This is a very different dimension to the entire conversation. And again, it's years of bad business practices, be it underpricing, be it paying staff poorly, be it not recording the right attendance figures, whatever it is, it's going to hurt. I mean, I don't know what PP and Ankush say about that, but that's my reading.
Ankush, I'll come to you on this particular point. You know, one is to do about the, definitely as Rajeev mentioned, you know, these employees being registered or having a contract with them or PF numbers, etc., where you can really monitor, you know, which are your employees. On the other side, I will also talk to you about a B2B travel agency, because that's your forte. Is how do you see these travel agencies making money? Because there has been a lot of multi-layer B2B players in the middle, you know, so you are an aggregator and then there are travel agents and then the customers in there. What is the future of this model? There was always been a question mark about this model since last few years, but, you know, we have seen great work from your team. What do you see, you know, as a future in this space, and what's your message to your customers there?
So, Gaurav, every challenge or any, you know, issue like what has happened with Corona has always brought the offline business back. Okay, because I tell you why. I've been facing this brunt for the last 45 days. There are people who have no idea how to come back home. They had no idea where the money is stuck. People have been chasing refunds. I understand airlines have been playing a little funny here when it comes to refunds right now. But I think the hand holding, you know, everybody realizes when there's a challenge. Global terrorism helps offline business, right? Kingfisher going down helped the travel agents back. So if you ask me, not because I'm a B2B man, personally, I think post-Corona, the B2B segment and the typical travel agent offline will bounce back faster than what the challenges he was facing, losing that business to a large OTAs. Discounting is something I can't comment on the OTA space yet, but if sense prevails, even they are struggling. Look at the market caps today. You know, they're half what they used to be 2 months back, right? I think they're also their focus will now start also going for profitability, because they've also laid off thousands of people. I think plus what I said and what Rajeev said in the beginning, we got to increase our margins, because you got to have that treasury or that surplus sitting for you to face another pandemic. Hopefully not. Let's say in the near 5 years, so that we don't come back to the same situation as what we are today. I think that's what the two things are going to be. I think B2B will become, I mean, the travel agents will have more business, and probably in various different segments, not only just outbound or inbound or domestic. Plus the margins, I think in my opinion, will definitely improve, because sense on margins will prevail, hopefully, across the industry.
Ankush, I think, you have to be always there in the panels to have this positivity coming back to the audience. You know, they will always love to hear from you. You know, it's a great outlook.
Gaurav, I work with 19,000 every month. मैं पिछले 10 साल से सुन रहा हूँ कि ट्रैवल रेट खत्म हो जाएगा, ट्रैवल रेट खत्म हो जाएगा. 20 साल तो मुझे हो गए यार. एजेंट बढ़ ही रहे हैं, right? So I don't know what will happen post Corona. So let's see after 1 year, you and I'm sure will again be at a panel, and then let's see whether this 19,000 became 30 or it actually became 10. But I think it will be on the 30 side, in my opinion.
Ankush, if you ask your father, conversations he and my father would have had when the internet came in at those days. Internet aa gaya, travel agency band ho jayegi. People adapt.
But today, the numbers at Expedia, right, just 3 months back are lower today. They are going back to B2B, right? Expedia is now launching a B2B. What does that prove? The biggest OTA in the world is going back to looking back at the travel agents again, because they're not seeing any growth happening.
Absolutely. And, you know, there is also a thing about these large organizations, especially the OTAs. You know, these are funded organizations, and their objective is to increase revenues rather than to make money till now. And of course, in the last few months, we have seen most of them have been struggling and trying to, you know, bring back to the positive side of it. You know, few of them has been successfully converted their business to be a little positive.
But one thing I can comment here, I have a large investor as well in the private equity world, which is obviously Standard Chartered. The bottom line is very important. And I can assure you, not only in our business going forward, every venture capitalist or private equity is going to see bottom as well as not only growth. And I think they've burned their bridges in some other businesses as well. So I think that thing will change now. It's not only about size and GMV or turnover, it is also about your bottom as well in some revenue.
So absolutely, you know, so that's one sign that, you know, the people or the larger companies who were not looking at the bottom lines because there's so much top heavy and so much of overheads and discounting happening, you know, that's going to go away, and it's going to definitely help the trade. Dhananjay, how do you see, you know, you deal with a lot of OTAs as well in your sales strategy. That is one of your big channel of sales as well. What do you see how the you know, business will turn towards online versus offline to the travel agents? Or do you think that the customers will come directly to you more with this whole situation happening?
See, like Ankush mentioned and many others, this offline travel agents will definitely continue to be there. And this has been going on with the OTAs versus traveling for a long time. But having said that, the travel agents have to turn a little more on the specialization, get themselves more equipped. You know, the ask and the questions what the new traveler is now going to see, we call it the new traveler post-COVID, will have different kind of questions. So involvement and engagement with the traveler and the travel agencies or the travel advisor, which should be much more higher as compared to what it was before. You just sold an itinerary, and that itinerary is bought, and then you're on the plane or on the bus to start with it. But today, the traveler will ask many more questions before going to a hotel, before going to that location or the destination, how safe it is. So safety, as I said, will be something which everybody wants to. So here is where, with a lot of knowledge and education, the travel agent will be able to help and guide the traveler to all the locations or the destination which they want to sell. So everybody has to kind of level up in their own knowledge game to come up with ideas and be up there. Coming back to OTAs, yes, they were giving a lot of cashbacks. There was no rate parity. All this was maintained. But I don't know, as going forward with this current scenario, will that happen or not? Yes, as a hotel company, we don't want to depend highly on OTA business. Yes, we can't ignore them because there's a large customer base which they're carrying, and there is a member base which they already have acquired. So we will say we have to create a fine balance with both sides of the OTA versus the offline travel agent. But offline travel agent have got a critical role to play now. People might not just go online and book a bed in a room and sightseeing option. They might want to talk to somebody. They want to get to hear that there is a confidence level and get that, and then plan the travel accordingly. That's my take.
Okay, so one very last thing before we take the audience questions to the panel, Mr. Khanna, what do you see? What is the next way forward for these employees to sustain? Is it a way we create incentive-based structures for them? We can reduce the salary but pay more if they sell more. Is that a way forward, or do you think how these travel agents can have more innovative ways, for increasing their sales?
Just a minute. Yes, Gaurav. Now, Rajeev and Ankush, they have, very well said that what is going to be there unless the government doesn't listen to us. Now, this is one voice with the FICCI, with the FAITH, with the CIA, SHM, PAD Chamber workers. We have a one voice asking for the bailout and for the salaries of our employees. But nothing has happened. I think government is not considering at the time. They are more considering about the COVID go away and about the health and also about the poor level people, how to feed them. This is their priority first of all. Secondly, now, what to do now that? We actually, in a domestic tour operators, we have a very small agents also. Those who are running their offices from 2-3 people to 10-15 people to 20. We are not like the OTAs. We are not like the big companies. Our more agents. I'm not talking about my own agency or the Ankush or the Rajeev. We have a lot of people, lot of agencies, those who are very small agents. Now, if they have a person who is working with them for the last 10, 15, 20 years, and for this small period, one month or 2 months or 3 months, he will look into that he is my old man and he is working with me for the last so many. Can't I really bear for the 2-3 months for him, who was very loyal to me for so many years? So that is one aspect. The second aspect is, of course, where you have a money, like Ankush also said, a lot of monies have been now stuck up in the airlines and they are playing really very funny at the moment. They are not refunding the money. A lot of hotels even they are not refunding. A lot of MICE hotels, they are also saying that you can extend your this thing and you can do again or we'll give you the credit shells like that. So these are the things very, very important to understand whether we should be giving the salaries to our employees, or we should see that who is our employee, they are all loyal to us, whether it's a small agency or the big agency. Yes, of course, there are new generations where we can think that he is a new person and what we have to do with that. And we cannot say directly no to him, but definitely we can do some cut in the salaries like that. Or see, everybody who's working in the agency is working with the loyalty. It is not like that you generate more business, I will give you more incentives like that. Okay, that is only the strategy in the marketing and sales and marketing, like the big companies like Ankush and Rajeev, they are running their businesses. They have their targets about that with the sales and the marketing team. They can always say, you bring more client to me and I will incentivize you. I will give you more incentives to you. That is possible for us, but during in front of the small agents, it's not possible. That to give incentives to them.
Okay. So Tejbir, last word from you on this particular aspect of employment sustainability.
I think it's a difficult situation. We all realize that. We understand it's there for a long time. We also understand that we need to dig our heels in the ground for good. And may it be a large company or a small company, I would say that in a large company, you would like to use a word like cash reserves or cash surplus. In a smaller company, perhaps you could use, that I've saved penny for a rainy day. irrespective, now's the time to actually bring that moolah out. It could be pennies or it could be large cash reserves. You need to stay put on the ground. You need to back up your team, because tourism is not about your own self. You can do nothing alone. You need to have a team. It's a team which takes you forward, propels you. You need to believe in a team, and they need to stay with you. Fair enough. You can, request them and tell them to participate in this difficult hour, and salary cut is completely okay. Sustaining them, if you can, great. Rajeev correctly said that we really have a great empathy in this trade. I also know a lot of other people in different, industries who are ruthless. We still are sticking to our team. We will stick to our team till the last. And let me put this question to everyone in the house, that let's take 6 months from now. Let's assume COVID is over. Let's assume the things have got better and coming back to normal. Now you have nobody in your office to run your office, to run your business. What will you do? Even if you have if you have 50 queries in your office in a day or in a week, who's going to answer that? Who's going to take that on? So it's your team. So you better stick to your team. That's I think well said. No team, no business. Even if you have business, you'll not be able to handle that. You'll still like to shut down. I would also like to add that what you should also do, all stakeholders, including me, 4-pointer, I would say that in this time, if you think that there is no direction and you're directionless, you don't know what to do, I think 4 things you must do, which I'm also doing, is to look at a product list. If you think that your product list is, it needs, a freshness, you should do that. You should try and look 6 months from now on or a year from now on. What is it that is going to sell? So try and shake your product list. Database, you must look at the database. If you do not have that database segment, do your research, spend your time, spend your money on that. Data analytics are very important. You must know what you're doing before you step out. Marketing, you also need to start your marketing endeavors now, which means that it doesn't mean that straight away reach out to your customers from tomorrow itself. They might not listen to you right now, but you can prepare yourself. Think of new strategies where you can lure your customers, build that confidence in why they should travel with you, how safe you are, what are your standard operating procedures, have you changed, have you aligned yourself with the post the COVID, are your operations safe enough for them to book with you. I would go to the extent of saying that I saw somebody, I saw some company, with a great marketing line saying that book only at 10% for 2021 and 0 cancellation 15 days prior to departure. And I was very curious to see that website. So when I went inside, I also saw some statistics which said that for 2021 cruises, they booked 41% domestic cruises for March 2021 onwards. So which means the client must have paid just 10%, and he's hanging on to the booking at some rock bottom prices, great deals, and he's happy to also cancel 15 days prior to sailing. So fantastic, a great learning from this. You can try and look at some great time departures. I speak to the adventure segment people because we are people with skill sets on the hands on the ground. So you should look at departures which you can triply yourself. Everyone has a fan following. Everyone has friends who look up to you. So you can try and build up a product list from September onwards. You can look at destinations which I spoke before. So for example, July and August onwards, Spiti, Kinnaur and Ladakh and Kashmir sectors are good to visit. In fact, that's a prime time to visit. So you can look at those. I don't know whether it'll open or not, but so you should.
I think these are amazing points which you're saying. I think the trade, I've just got a message from somebody that is it possible for us, to actually, give these pointers as an education document or a white paper and float it to everyone. I mean, people would love to see these pointers coming in from everyone. I mean, can we all have a single pager document for our audience as a follow up to this?
Oh. Why doesn't TTJ circulate the questions to all of us, and each one can answer whatever we feel is appropriate, and they can make a
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. We are not left with a lot of Q&A session right now. There was a lot of questions, I was going through. I saw most of them have been answered through this discussion. But definitely we're going to compile all these questions and have it sent to all the panelists to have a much consolidated answer to it. And probably TTJ will publish it back to their audience. I would like to end this session with few takeaways. So definitely, responsible tourism, nearby destinations is what we see gonna emerge. Domestic is definitely gonna stay. That has been the backbone of our economy in tourism. Is gonna stay for long. There are always a means how we can improvise on it. We see a lot of positive signs coming in through this discussion about technology, profit margin, sustainability, and definitely, an important new normal which will come in is about pre-screening, having maybe a COVID certificate, having maybe an app which rates you, with your all the past travel history as well, so that airlines are more confident, the hotels are more confident to actually welcome travelers. And I think that responsibility will also come to the travel agents to actually have a pre-screening certificate or a document before you make a booking. With all these thoughts, I would like to thank everyone in the panel, the audience. There was a great turnaround of approximately about 480 odd people, beyond our expectations. I hope we have more sessions like these. And again, thank you everyone for sharing your experience and your thoughts to the audience. Back to you, Rachita.
Thank you, Gaurav, so much for conducting this very insightful session. Thank you, speakers, for enlightening us with all your suggestions. We will also be sharing a monkey survey link with all our attendees and all our panelists to, understand and take the suggestions on, whatever topics that we've missed, and we can take it forward for our next sessions. And I would also like to apologize on behalf of Mr. Lohani. He couldn't make it to the session due to some last-minute work commitments. And thank you so much. I hope we were able to suffice everything that we planned to discuss in this particular session. And I hope all of you stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you so much for enlightening us. Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Raj.
Thank you, Raj.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Cheer up.
Thank you,
This
Raj.
will get better. We will come back. I saw a lot of the questions. Shit happens, guys. But we are a strong industry. We'll get out of it.
Yeah.
With this positive words, guys, thank you very much. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you
you
so
all.
much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.